Hello, we're back. Welcome to my cake kitchen. I am Gladys, and over here I make simple, informative tutorials to help you navigate baking and decorating easily. We were back here earlier, just under 15 minutes ago, discussing the subject of margarine in making buttercream. We're discussing this product. We know margarine is formulated for baking, which is a type of baking spread. We've discussed the details of it. And in a previous video, we talked about what the product is, why it is better suited for making cakes, and why it may just not be a good thing for making buttercream. However, we also broke down the reasons why anybody would consider margarine for buttercream, the pros and cons of that. And in this part of the tutorial, we are going to be demonstrating why this may not yield you the outcomes. But instead of telling you, we're going to do the thing, which is we're going to be baking. We're not baking. We're going to be making buttercream with margarine, and then we can see the result. Hopefully that specifically answers the question. In my entire baking career, this is my very first time ever. And the reason why I am undertaking this task is because the question keeps recurring over and over again from certain quarters of the internet and bakers who I believe are like an ecosystem of people who, for cost-cutting measures, may rather use margarine. But for all intent and purposes, and for good reason, it's not a recommended product for buttercream. But instead of telling you, we are going to undertake the whole demonstration so that we can answer the question. What we are going to do is stick to how fair or closely possible it is to using butter. So in that case, the ratios I am using is I have 250 grams, exactly 250 grams of margarine here, and I have 500 grams of icing sugar. Normally, these are the main ingredients in American buttercream. What we are undertaking here is American buttercream, and then there is a flavoring of choice. Over here I have vanilla as a preference. These are normally the main ingredients of American buttercream, and then you can consider a sort of liquid of some form to adjust the consistency of buttercream depending on intention and purpose for it. So those are like water, cream or milk. Those are additional ingredients. I haven't presented those here because we want to go with what are the actual ingredients in a buttercream, American buttercream for that matter, and then work with it. The general principles of American buttercream, I know recipes may differ depending on the ratio and purpose, but a standard ratio for American buttercream is 1:2, which is 1 part of butter to 2 parts of sugar. So there's 500 grams of icing sugar here, which is sifted. Now, normally it's also recommended that ensure that the anti-caking ingredient in your icing sugar is either tricalcium phosphate or cornstarch. One is not better than the other. It all depends on outcomes and purpose. So for just the purposes of this tutorial, the brand of icing sugar I used has tricalcium phosphate as the anti-caking ingredient. And if you don't know what anti-caking ingredient is, it is simply an ingredient that is added to the icing sugar to stop it from clumping. So that is something for you to note. With that in mind, these are just the ingredients. So we're going to jump into it. Generally, American buttercream, you cream the butter on its own for a little while until it is pale and fluffy, and then you introduce the sugar. So we are going to follow exactly the same principles and see what results we yield over here. For comparison, I have American buttercream videos, a ton of them, in a long form format and in shorts version, and also actually in live versions. My most recent American buttercream is going back about 2-3 weeks ago. So if you go to the homepage, you should see that video. It will talk you through the entire process, and I am employing that specific process to be able to derive this buttercream. So if you want to get that for just some sort of visual comparison, go check that out. That said, I'm going to move that to the side, and I am bringing the mixer here. So there goes the mixer, and into the mixer I have a paddle attachment. Now into the mixer goes in 250 grams of the margarine. I'll be honest, I feel a little bit annoyed because it's like I'm never going to use this buttercream for anything except for the demonstration purposes and for teaching. And it's like I'm wasting my sugar, but that's a small detail. There you go. Right? So there's 250 grams here. Normally you want to whisk it for anything between 4 to 6 minutes. The recommendation is to whip it for as long as it can peel out. Because butter is firmer and more solid, it would make sense that you whip it, but we are not doing a direct one-to-one comparison. So I'm just going to whip it for as long as I can, just to observe what it looks like. What we are not doing is putting it in direct contrast with butter, so direct comparison to butter. So I'm not going to work the margarine out as though it is butter, which I'll whip for longer. So I guess my decision making on this will be set in observation and seeing what it looks like and recognizing whether the visual cues will prompt the next move. So follow me on this one. The timestamp here is exactly 10 to 4. So let's give it maybe 4 minutes, see how it works out. Okay, so I'm starting by going a medium high. So I'm using the other bowl. So with, oh no, 1 second. Okay, I think my I have two different it had to be today. I have two different what do you call it, K beaters, and this is not the K beater for this bowl, so I'm just going to change it. Okay, it might be the head. It's probably the head. First off, ignore the noisy bowl, okay? Ignore that. First off, the margarine is already breaking. It's looking all soft already, and it looks all greasy. And we are just 2 minutes in. Forget the fact that I had to stop and swap the K-beater. 2 minutes in, and look at what we've got. So this consistency is no good for anybody, but let's get to it. We wanted to do 4. Dawn is asking, is that a mixer? Is that mixer a KitchenAid? No, it's a Kenwood. Just doing my head in. I think I've got the wrong bowl on the mixer, because I have 2 bowls. I think something needs tightening on the head. Good morning, Ange. Good morning. Barbara, good morning. I am not baking, Barbara. What I am doing is I'm attempting to answer a simple question. Should you use margarine for making buttercream? I don't recommend it, but instead of taking my word for it, we are actually completing a demonstration by using margarine. So we're making American buttercream. The base fat here is margarine from a brand that is UK based. It's actually carried by Lidl and Aldi stores, but you can use the equivalent brand of Stork or Flora. Just to answer the simple question, why would you use margarine? Should you not? And very quickly, we are establishing some very real facts here that even at 4 minutes in at medium high speed and a very sketchy mixing bowl that is doing my head in, into the bowl, you can tell the consistency here is very soft, you know, and it's beginning to lose body very quickly, okay? If it was butter, butter will still be firmer. And if you want to understand or see what that looks like, you want to check my American buttercreams recipes and videos that I have completed using butter. The butter will still be firmer, except in this case, the margarine has melted. It is almost looking like if this was a warm weather day. Mind you, I'm in England, okay? I'm in England. So what I am doing is favored by the weather here. If this was a warm weather day, this will probably be looking a little more soupy. But at this point, we are committed to the goal. So I'm not going to beat it any further than it needs to. I'm going to add the sugar. Remember, the sugar has been sifted. So I'm pouring that slowly in so we don't end up with a clump of sugar. And what I'm going to do is just try and mix that in slowly. Can you see a cloud of sugar coming across? Well, I will say over here, mixing the sugar in, it is easier to mix, especially for the ratio of 2 to 1. It seems easier to mix in than if it was butter. Because even though butter would still be firm, which is what I need, it would have still been hard to kind of mix butter so easily. Whereas the broken buttercream I see here, the broken margarine I see here, seems like it is working in my favor in terms of the contact with the sugar. So let's mix that in fairly, okay? And what I'm going to do is move that across and slowly. Right, so let's try that. Okay, slowly. Okay, and let it go. Okay, the argument for the part where it whips up light, that is falling up flat already, because we're still looking like a yellow tinge. And I kind of feel like if it was butter would have still been paler, but we are not comparing it directly to butter. So 4 minutes in, the sugar has now gone in. Let's try and mix it. Let's look at the timestamp. Okay, the timestamp is 3:58. Let's give it 2 minutes mixed, and then we'll see. It is still on medium high of 3. Tabitha, are you saying you don't see this working well? We don't know. That is the joy of learning something new every day. We don't know, right? So 58, this is a minute in. It seems like it is paling out, but if the goal, because you know when you're making American buttercream, you want to pale it out. The more we whip, we'll see. Right, so if you're in the chat, who thinks this is going to work out? Let's see. I know the skeptics in the chat. It's okay to be skeptical, but who has faith that this is going to work out? Okay, so let's be clear. 2 minutes in, because we started at 15:58. 2 minutes in, and this is what we have. Let's test consistency. 2 minutes in, it is looking paler. Is it as firm as I would like it? No. But if it was American buttercream with butter, we wouldn't stop here. If you look at the consistency of it, it is almost looking like it's breaking, but if we were making it with real butter, we wouldn't stop now, would we? So let's give it another 2 minutes. So think about it as the 10 minutes buttercream with margarine, and let's see how this works. This is actually exciting because this is the first time in my entire baking career that I have made buttercream using margarine, and that's simply for the demonstration. So let's go see. Barbara says, I have faith it will all work out. Barbara, you know what? For the demonstration purposes, I have none of it matters to me as long as we find the answer. What are the ingredients so far? Margarine and just the sugar. Okay, that's about 5 minutes in, right? And let's have a look. Grey color is asking what are the ingredients here. It is just the margarine and sugar, essentially. That's exactly what we have in here. Let's look at consistency 5 minutes in. I mean, consider the fact that if this was a warm weather day, the result would be worse, right? Where is the little guy? Okay. the result will be worse, because look at the consistency of butter here. Buttercream, right? Okay. I don't know how to describe it. And however I describe it, you were seeing a very first-hand raw reaction, because I've never done this before, and it's actually interesting to see what this looks like. Really, it looks like I've added milk to it when in fact I haven't. It feels light in the bowl when I scrape through it. And then let's see, just with the shake, it's falling down. Okay, but one thing that we know for sure is taste. So far, okay, so far, let's have a taste and see what it feels like. I feel like I'm taking one for the team on this one. Don't do it, people. Don't do it. Now, I've got to preface this by saying, I don't know if it's the brand, but all you can feel is, I don't have the words, but it's not the best thing in your mouth in terms of mouthfeel. And you know, if you've been here, you know I'm very particular about mouthfeel and taste. It's not the worst thing I've tasted. Let me try that again. Don't do it. I spat it out. Don't do it. Imagine if I were to put it into words what it feels like texture-wise. Imagine if you had flour, right? And you just put water in flour and it gets sticky and you are trying to eat it with sugar. That's what it tastes like in my mouth. No. Barbara, I know your faith is strong, okay? Some days, just have the faith because you are positive and accept the results. I know the Tobiases and the Sambalats in the chat already knew the answer. They knew this wall was weak, okay? We didn't need a prophet to tell us. But now, that I can, when I stand here and I tell you why you should never ever use margarine for your buttercream, I'll be talking from a place of experience. And I like that. I really like knowing something for sure instead of believing or assuming from facts. Okay? So you know what? Can we save it by making a cake? You know what? Amongst everything I've just done, what is worse for me is putting my expensive vanilla in there to save it. That's annoying. Okay. We pour it with love. Grey color. The milder in taste is true. Butter is definitely superior in terms of taste because of its quality and ingredients. But margarine is not it's not a product that is designed for buttercream. Okay? Buttercream should enhance the taste of your cake. So whether you're choosing oil or margarine or butter for your cake, that is neither here nor there, as long as you yield a nice textured cake. But because buttercream is an enhancer, it's really important that it tastes well accompanying the cake. And this ain't it. This right here ain't it. But anyway, the Tobiases and the Sambalats in there, I see you. It's 9 past and we're going for another 2 minutes. Last kid, I will answer your question in a moment. Let this be done and then I will take to answering your question. Okay, that's beside the point. I'm not going to belabor the point. Let's accept that the taste didn't work out first. I've added vanilla. The vanilla has penetrated and seems to settle a bit, but it's still surprisingly, the vanilla has absorbed better and I can taste it and feel it. Has it changed from what I felt originally? Not much. But here's also a visual cue to what's happened in the bowl so far. You can see the buttercream breaking down in here. Let me just move to the side. Bear with me. Let me just take this away. 1 second. Okay. Okay. If you look closely in this bowl, I don't know if you can see the lines of the butter almost like going down, as in it's broken. And if you look under the bowl here, I've just moved out of shot so you can see into the bowl. Here you can see sort of some residue here. So remember in the previous video we talked about water content. So the water is seeping through, the sugar is separating, and the fat cannot hold it all together. So it's not a very strong emulsion. And it's looking like it's got air bubbles. And the more I've whipped it, so let's say give or take, this is 8 to 10 minutes from start to finish. And this is what we have. It's not great, is it? Why anyone would consider giving their customer buttercream that tastes like this, I will not know. What I do know though is this ain't it. Let me just wipe the work surface. Yeah, margarine splits easier. Yes. Gray color. What kind of buttercream is this? Mayan. Mayan. It's American buttercream, but we were using margarine instead of butter. It's just a tutorial for demonstrative purposes. Okay, I definitely do not recommend you using margarine for your buttercream. It's just not worth it. We've just found that out. But in real time, we've transferred it into a bowl. Okay, look at the consistency of it. And at this point, there is no, I haven't added water or anything to it at all. I mean, look at this consistency. This is not going to do anything. And plus, remember in the previous video, we discussed the pros and cons. Butter, at this stage, if butter looked like this and you put it back in the fridge, it will set. Is this going to set? I don't know. Okay, we'll find out. Anyway, let's do a quick test. We've already found out this ain't it, but you know what? You know your girl is committed to the goal. Okay, so here's a buttercream nozzle. Okay, let's go try. Let's go try and pipe some details. And this is just the first raw reaction before, because I am going to have to leave this. I'm going to have to leave this to set, and then we'll come back and discuss it. The sad news is I'm not here tomorrow. Just giving you a heads up. I am not here tomorrow. Tomorrow I have some other commitments, so I won't be here. I'm back on regular duty on Friday. Okay, so we're not here tomorrow. So on Friday, after 2 days of this setting, look, the whole thing has fallen apart. Like, why? Okay, there you go. We are going to try and see if it will hold. One second, I'm getting us some spare cake. Right. I do not have any cupcakes to hand, but I have cupcake cones. There you go, cupcake cones. So let's see if that will hold. Okay, look at the consistency of it. I don't want to lose it. 1 second. Okay, so I'm just going to try and tip it over, and then you can see if it will hold shape. Just so you can see the consistency of it. Okay, can you see? Is it worth it? I don't know. Even in the piping bag, you can see streaks. It's like, okay, let's try and see if we'll get details. The details are holding, the details are showing up in the buttercream piping. Look at it. But the moment you start going on a swell, it doesn't hold, okay? right? Now, if this was any buttercream, after doing this, I'll leave it to set, but I'm still testing consistency. So look. Look. And mind you, it's a sort of relatively not too warm day in England. Imagine dealing with this on a warm day. No chance. No chance. Look. No chance. I mean, I've seen some unstable buttercream in my life. Not this one. Not this one. So, here are the ratings. In terms of stability and hold, it's a 0.1. Okay, it doesn't even, it's minus 0.1, which means it's in the decimal portion. In terms of taste, oh, that's bad. Be kind to your be kind to your customers and don't give them rubbish items all in the name of saving cost. Okay, this ain't worth it. This shouldn't be given to any customer. Like, I don't care how much money you want to save. This right here is a no. Okay, that's all. Now we've answered the question. You've got my attention. I was thinking of using this to cover a cake. You know what? I don't want to do this all over again. So let's as well just do it. So let me go grab some cake, because you know your girl always has cake. Okay? Let's go grab some cakes and get to work on this. Stick here with me. And if you like this demonstration, be kind, like the video, because look, this right here, I have literally wasted my 250 grams of margarine that I could be using to make a cake. I am not happy, but I'm going to have to find a way to turn this into some cookies or something, because this can't go to waste. Not unless they go on the cake. If they go on the cake is stale, so I can't reuse it. Let me go grab the cake, my people. Let's just go grab the cake. Oh, the small kitchen strikes again. Okay, girl, I live in a small kitchen. Okay, I have to squeeze past places. We have cake. I told you, your girl has a cake. Did you bake? Did you break something? No. Did I? At this point, I'm not sure if I broke something or I didn't. I'm not even sure what I'm. Okay, so we have. Right. Okay. Okay. I'm not even. Okay. I'm committed to the journey now, so let's do it. So let's level this cake and fill it. I can't believe we got here in the end. Okay. This was so unplanned, right? But it's a good thing to learn. So imagine because these are not the normal circumstances under which I will make a cake, right? But just imagine real life situation happens. You have to whip up buttercream and use ASAP. If it was butter, it will work, right? But we have this thing that isn't working in our favor. To start with, let's go fill this cake up and see. Mind you, the cake is chilled, right? So let's see. I mean, at this point, the whole thing has melted anyway. It just feels like it's cream. I don't know why I'm bothering myself to prove the point. I think at this point, it's well established it's not going to work. I don't know why. Okay, let's see. Okay, so we are filling the cake. It's almost like a soft filling, if you like. Okay, so let's go for it. So let's see. Okay, we filled it. Okay, so imagine this is a regular cake. I mean, 5" by 4, right? So you have a cake like this, and you want to cover it. Now, bear in mind, the reason why we don't have buttercream seeping everywhere is because the cake is chilled. But let me grab a spatula and let's get to it from here. Never mind how the cake itself, right? First things first. The reason why we have buttercream bleeding out from inside the cake is because the buttercream is unstable. That is the first sign of your buttercream not being stable, and it's leaking out from inside the cake. When this happens with regular buttercream, you want to put that in the fridge. It will set completely. You can come back, trim around the cake, and then begin covering it, right? If you proceed from here on, whether you're using margarine, messy, rubbish hair, or you're using buttercream, if you proceed from here, you are going to set yourself up for difficulties in your decorating process, and it's going to yield you a wonky cake. So bear that in mind. For just this demonstration, I am going to prod along because it's not going to make a difference and I'm not going to waste time. But I just want us to be on the page of we know it, we've seen it done, okay? So here is the buttercream. First of all, it is so unstable that before a knife goes on it, look, it's almost functioning like fresh cream, like whipped cream, unstabilized whipped cream. Look, I have barely touched it, right? So let's go to the side and try and cover this. And remember, my covering process here with the way I'm turning the spatula around the cake lends to my experience of doing this. Imagine being a beginner on a sunny, hot day, trying to do this. You would be thanking God. You'd be pleading to God to send you to hell because this right here is a disaster. But don't take my word for it. Let's get on with it. This takes me back to the days I knew nothing about cakes. Okay, at least we're doing the hard part, which is, if you're a beginner, stop by the channel and learn for yourselves the things to avoid, okay? We give you everything you need. Everything. Because look, believe me when I say I am barely touching this thing. And this cake is out here slipping and sliding. Okay. The girl is committed. Let me wash my hands and get myself a... You know, one of them people who just starts something and has to finish. That would be me. Okay, something fell off, but I'm not chasing it. Okay, so we're using a... Yep, the consistency is like whipped cream. Thank you. You found the words I couldn't. Okay? You know what? I am not going to do anything to it. I think for truth of experience, what we are going to do is I am just going to scrape that side, and then we'll leave the cake as this to set in the fridge, and then maybe on Friday we will unpack it. But yeah, that's the best we can do. A little over 10 years of baking experience, and this is what I get. Thank you, Margarine, for your service. Please don't do it, okay? Jiggle, 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 jiggle. Jiggle, 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 jiggle. You can see the buttercream bleeding out. You can see the consistency breaking. Not good. But anyway, let's put it away to bake, to chill. My fridge is packed. Okay. Have we answered the question? Do you feel like, based on the experiment alone, Barbara, we have already achieved that status already. We made a cake a little while back for the neighbor, and we knew it was the Leaning Tower of Pizza. Okay. I think this could be worse, because at least the Leaning Tower of Pizza is still a monument. It's leaning, but it's standing. I don't think this one even has a chance of standing. It will literally collapse. So, you know what? Okay, so yeah. So we've answered the question, which is, I get asked a lot of the time, and I knew on the baking experience I have gathered over the years that, why would you want to use margarine? Why? But you know what? Sometimes it's better to show than tell. And on this note, I knew showing the thing was going to be better than just keep telling people. And I think we've already, if you don't know the context within which this is discussed, check on our immediate last video, which is a video, a tutorial, a live that we filmed about an hour ago. So this is the second part of 2 videos. The first part was just before this. You'll see it up on the channel. We did the theoretical aspects where our objectives were to identify or describe what margarine is, why it is formulated for baking outcomes rather than buttercream making. Why would anyone, despite all the reasons why we know margarine is not a formulated product targeted at buttercream, why would anyone want to use margarine? We broke that down. We had pros and cons. And we tried to also answer, okay, if anybody decided that for some reason they wanted to use margarine, what would it look like? So we almost answered the questions we have seen now. We answered it in theoretical form by saying, you know what, the structure may not hold, it will break, it will be unstable, the taste will not be. We discussed all of that. So this is more like a practical aspect to the theory that we discussed in a previous video. So if you want to see the context within which we answered much of the questions, breaking down our objective into subcategories, in that video, you can go and check it out. But we've done it now. And I don't know what I'm going to be using that for, but Tapeta has suggestions. I could be making cookies out of it, and that might also be a good reason. Who knows? You love cookies, but they don't love you. I am so sorry, darling. I don't even know what kind of cookie I can make with that. But yeah, I have seen buttercreams turned into cookies. I don't know. I don't know what I want to do with this because it's such a mess. Okay. So the consistency and the formulation is not targeted at buttercream. So here's the question to you. Here's the answer. Don't use margarine. I don't care what brand it is. It's the same product. It has seed oil that is processed into a semi-partial for solid form or solid form. And however you slice it, it doesn't work. I have actually tried the vegan block for buttercream, and the results are similar, even worse, because it breaks and the water comes out. It's really bad. And actually, I upped the ante by using that vegan block with trying to use aquafaba for a vegan buttercream, and what a mess that was. So yeah, I tell you today, just stick to margarine for cakes, okay? Just go make cakes, cookies, whatever you make. Don't use it for buttercream. It's not worth it. But you know what? You know, I'm never one to back down from a fight. So probably on our next one, we'll be tackling shortening, okay? We've already, in our previous video, we identified margarine is a derivative of shortening, but it's not shortening because margarine has water content and additional ingredient, whereas shortening is 100% fat, which is made from seed or vegetable oil. You know, the process of making that is hydrogenated, which means the hydrogen compounds are sort of manipulated in a way that forms the shortening, causing it to have a higher tolerance to heat, if you like, compared to butter. For that reason, shortening is more stable, but even worse in terms of taste. I can tell you that, but how about let's come and try that? So perhaps on our next one, we'll be trying shortening. But shortening combined with butter in certain recipes is still tolerable, right? It's not as bad as our friend margarine here. You know what, Mayan? I won't be surprised because the thing with, I think what is, let me just wash my hands and tidy this up, and then I'll talk to you about brands and ingredients in different locations, right? Yeah. Butter cookies is a thing. Okay, I will check it out, Dawn. Thank you. Right. I think one of the least talked about subjects in baking is the differences in ingredient composition in different locations and in different parts of the world, right? I mean, I tend to be a little more long-winded because long before I came on YouTube, I aspired to be the tutor that I was always looking for. Stay with me. Like before I got onto YouTube to talk about cakes, teach cakes, and do all of this that you see here, I was always on YouTube. That's how my baking journey actually started. I am largely self-taught. So I was always trying to look for resources on the platform to support the start of my journey. And the problems I am solving as we develop and go along are largely problems that are still greatly not solved or tackled in terms of the baking niche on the channel. So just to break it down, the baking niche is in subcategories, and it ranges from like people who are sitting high up here. Like, you're talking people who have gone to school, who study science, the baking science at a very professional level. But their target audience is very different because they are bringing the science from an academic point of view. And it can be very, very theoretical and very confusing. There's a lady on the channel, on the platform. I think her name, I don't want to get her name wrong, but I think she's Joanna Cheng. Did I get that wrong? I would find it and I will link it somewhere. She is a Harvard trained scientist who focuses on the science of baking. And try as she may to bring the baking science to very simplistic form. She runs a bakery, by the way. When I landed on her channel, guess where the channel information was at? It was on the platform of Harvard Science. You're like, what could I possibly be doing here? Do you see what I'm saying? And that was very, very technical. And then I found people like Claire Saffitz and what's her name? Erin Jean McDowell. But they were also on platforms that was generally appealing to a certain category of bakers. First of all, she started off on a Condé Nast platform. Is it Bon Appetit? So they weren't just baking focused, they were a food channel, right? And so the dedication to the science of baking wouldn't always be the thing. You go there for a bit of entertainment because they were essentially a food-based entertainment yet educational channel. And both ran the same because the subject of baking and the science is one thing. The art of decorating a cake is a whole different genre. And then there is everything else in between. And it can be hard to kind of pinpoint where you land, right? I am happy that I exist between the two. I love the science of baking, but I am no scientist. Everything I have had to communicate to you, I communicate from a beginner level because that's my understanding of it. I happen to be grateful that before I went back to focusing on the science, I was so interested in the processes. So there are visual observations you have to make. There are notes I have to take. And then you have to refine how you provide the information. And that's all a skill one has to develop and learn. So I tell you, a channel that does what I am aiming for very well. I think she's a microbiologist. Sugarology. She's on this platform. It's a very science-based channel. She breaks down the science, but she brings the science in a very informative, beginner-friendly style. And she does it so well. It's amazing. So if you're a baker and you love baking, go find Sugarology. Okay? If you love the science of baking, if something doesn't, you're like, why is this that? Go check that channel out. That said, every time I get asked a question about baking, whether it includes a recipe, ingredient, something goes off in my brain, and I'll tell you what it is. When an American is asking me about how to make cream cheese, the answer is never straightforward for me. You know why? Because in America, you happen to have that block style cream cheese. We have Philadelphia here. The tub. That creamy thing that doesn't do anything. That's what we have. And that's because food legislations and regulations vary from country to country. I mean, the amount of additives my American audience have access to in terms of food and how it's produced is very limited in the UK. I mean, we in the UK don't have bleached cake flour. So if you're looking for a very tender bake or cake with cake flour, which is so delicate and amazing, don't talk to me. Now I know having a lesser percentage of protein is a good thing for your cake, But the European Union determined that the process for making that bleach cake flour is in the long term unhealthy for me. So they banned the thing. So in the UK, we don't have bleach cake flour. So I say all that to say the differences in ingredients in various locations and geographical places is such an underrepresented subject in the category or genre of baking, right? Because say if someone, imagine talking about measurements. I mean, I have cups. I don't know what they do. I like grams. So I have to bake and convert. And it's not always easy to convert stuff. So you think if baking channels were just dedicated to saying, okay, I am a British-based baker and I'm targeting British audience, that might be a thing. Do you see what I'm saying? Whereas if it's not the case, other people are, like American audiences are, they're targeting everybody, but sometimes it's like there are small nuances. So yeah, that's a whole tangent to say to Mayam. It might just be the case that the formulation for butter, this margarine here, lacks a certain ingredient that might emulsify the product better for a better outcome. But perhaps that product or ingredient in this for stability is banned or not accessible. And perhaps if the same ingredient formulated in the US might yield me better results. And that's actually a thing. Did I lose you or you got what I was saying? Ella says, I'm new here and I am already loving it. Thank you. So yeah, I am envious of you American people. When it comes to food and ingredients, I am envious to them to the extent where I am happy living in a country where I don't worry about a pew. That's all. Just saying. I like to live in peace, okay? Oh, Rio says, ma'am, how are you? What did I miss? How are you? Something to do with how are you do pretty. Thank you. Right. So, oh, how are you so pretty? You want to go and ask God, okay? And ask my mom and dad for their good genes too. That's not a question I can answer, but you know what they say? Beauty lies in the eyes of the beholder. So thank you. But that said, people, we just wanted to answer a simple question, which is, can margarine do the thing that butter would in buttercream? And we already know the answer is, yeah, in the small kitchen, things fall apart. Okay. Mayan says, don't be that girl. I'd rather be in London, honey. You know what? I have thoughts. But yes, do I like, I mean, I don't live in London. I live in a town way outside of London. But here's, if you've been here a little while, you would have heard me say time and again, I don't like the business of a city. Okay? When I've gone into London, I have an appointment, I touch down and I'm back to my little village, okay? I like urban living. Like, I like an urban town or like an urban village where you're not living amongst the cows and the moose over there, right? But you have like greenery and countryside. I don't know if I can deal with the concrete and the business. I find London overwhelming, and that's not like saying anything bad. It's just a preference thing, okay? The business and the pace of London overwhelms my spirit. I just can't do it. Like when you jump on a train to Euston and you get there and everybody rushes out and it's so, no, I can't do it. And the city is a real city with everything is just on the move. I'm like, okay, I love the light until it's like goodbye. By the way, I am hoping for Christmas. I am hoping for Christmas I'll take a trip to London and we'll try some bakes and foods, like a tour of London for bakery goods. But anyway, I like to live in my house, so this might just be a thought in my head that will not happen. Rio is asking, what's happening here? I'm just scrolling down the YouTube live. Okay, Rio, we are a baking channel, and if it's the first time you're stopping here, thank you for stopping by. I am Gladys, okay? I love to bake. We do a lot of baking here, and then as you can tell, we do a lot of yapping too because we are friends. And today we came to make some buttercream. If you don't like baking, you will not know what buttercream is. But you see, buttercream is the thing that goes on your cake, right? That is what we did, and yeah. Okay, so I hope I've answered your question. By the way, you make lakes are, oh dear. Okay, so before we go, let's see if our cake has any chance of firming up, considering it's been in the fridge for a little while. Not at all. But you know what, like I said, I am not here tomorrow. I'll be back on Friday where we will assess this cake and then we'll see what the outcome of that is. By the way, before we go, people, if you've already found value in this video that we have done, be kind to like the video. And before we leave, one last thing, people, stick with me. We made a cheesecake yesterday. If you don't know the cheesecake, if you love a cheesecake, we made the cheesecake yesterday. We took it out yesterday. I couldn't wait, okay? I cut into the thing. But if you are, yes, you forgot. Yeah, I intentionally didn't mention the cheesecake. I didn't. But you know what? I have filmed aspects of it and I'm hoping I can put that together in a long form. So you will get a detailed overview of the cheesecake. But can I tell you, this cheesecake was beyond amazing. I have already gathered my thoughts in the community post, so you can go and check what that looks like. This was my first, this is my first ever baked cheesecake. I have never, there's an airline over here somewhere, right? Anyway, this is my first ever cheesecake. Never baked it. The only cheesecakes I've ever made is the no bake cheesecake. And if you go back to yesterday's video, I've optimized it with the recipe and everything. This is not my recipe because it's the first time I picked Preppy Kitchen's recipe. And we made some slight changes. For instance, he used American style cream cheese. I used the Tub Philadelphia circumstance. That's all we have. And then I added mascarpone to it. When I cut into this morning, right? I mean, our concern yesterday. Can you see my nose is running? It's so awful. I'm sorry. It's so good. Oh God. Rio, I'm so sorry, Rio. Right. just so you know, yesterday we baked it for about 45-50 minutes, and by the time we took it out, if you go back and watch the video, you will see we had concerns it had burned or overcooked. And so I was like, for a first time, I wasn't really hung up on the detail. When I tell you, nothing was overcooked here. If you look at because the way you know a cheesecake is great is when it has a little jiggle in the middle. But I don't like it like that because it's a sensory thing. It feels a little bit raw in my mouth. It just feels like a set egg for me. I don't like that. And just by sheer coincidence, it didn't overcook, but it has set and there's a softness to it. I'll tell you what, the base, this is a classic cheesecake anyway. The base is a combination of cake and waffle cones. I was feeling too lazy to go and buy cookies or biscuits, right? And I don't have any to hand. So I thought I'll get waffle cones that I had at home. This. So I crushed 3 of these and then added some cake crumb. Like I had some vanilla cake and I threw the cake to it and I added the butter. I thought, hear me when I say, I sincerely thought the base was going to be like a soft thing of cake because the cake outweighed the cones. And then when I put it in the oven to bake, the base, just the base, when I was dry baking the base alone, I ended up overcooking it. As in, it came out a little bit set and hard. And I thought by the time we add the cheesecake to it, it would have been burnt. Look, I say all that to say all of that worked perfectly. Because not only have you got like a creamy topping here, but when it cuts into the base, it is the softness of the cake comes through, and then you get the crunch of the cones that have overcooked. So it's just a mixture of flavor and everything else. For me though, it's an amazing cheesecake, I'll tell you. For me though, me personally, my palate can't tolerate overwhelmingly sweet. I am more of a mild person when it comes to taste for me. So for 200 grams of sugar, this has yielded such a sweet mouthfeel for me. But compared to the average person who can gobble a bar of chocolate, this is good. I know that because I live with people who can eat a whole tub of sweet. Don't ask me who. Okay? For them, this will be okay. Me, this is just too sweet. So for my preference and palate, the lemon I added here, I will increase the lemon to 2 and even add the lemon zest just for a bit of zing and citrusness. I'll reduce the sugar by 10 grams and I'll raise the salt from a pinch to about 7 grams so that there is balance and complexity. That would give me a more like tangy punch, but not overwhelming, but not too creamy and sweet either. This is rather sweet and creamy, but it's still a great cheesecake. That's all. You know, the thing is, necessity is the mother of innovation. It was my first cheesecake. I didn't want to spend money on a mistake. Never mind a mistake, but an expensive mistake is just not worth it. Not for me, okay? I mean, I'm still mad about wasting my ingredients on this rubbish right here. Haven't you noticed? Okay? The people who use biscuit, actually, I'll tell you, when you use the biscuit, I find it too sandy. It feels weird in my mouth. So from here on, this is what I'll do. If I were to use biscuit, I won't crush the biscuit as fine. I will just pulse them so that there is crunch and texture. And I'll throw some corns in. Because you know what? Again, today I'm off on something, right? We all don't feel food the same. We all, as a people, if we individualize each other, we don't feel food the same. And one place I exist to dominate and treat me and my preference is cake. Okay? Okay? I can't help that I can't grow my own food because it's 2025 and I have a life and I can't be a farmer. Okay? There are so many things I can't help. But one thing I can surely help is make myself a cake or cook something that I can bring everything that is important to me. So here's where I'll tell you, you know what? You are never going to find ordinary cakes over here. We're going to serve you ordinary for the lessons that comes with. But we are also always going to stretch things out to give you a different perspective. Because the truth is, we all do not taste food the same. I mean, I've given you an entire lecture about why this thing is sweet. I have somebody over here. If I said, sir, you want to come down for a cheesecake? This thing is gone. See, Lollipop says, I can't eat the fatty bits of a meat. It's got a weird texture. See? Meanwhile, someone sees a hog roast. Yeah, someone sees a hog roast and all they can think of is the fatty belly. Okay? My people, if you haven't noticed, I would stand here and I would talk forever. Okay? But it's 5 o'clock here in the UK. For some of you, your morning is just started. If yours has just started, in the chat, where are you? And what are you doing this morning? If this is just morning for you. Somebody was asking me, I speak like a Ghanaian. I am Ghanaian, darling. Okay? I come from Ghana. To say, was it Ella May or somebody in the chat was like, oh, you sound Ghanaian. I am Ghanaian. Okay? Let's catch up on that another time. But for all of you, have a good day. It's Rio. It's midnight. Oh. It's midnight. Well, go catch some sleep. Get well rested, and I'll see you on Friday, God willing. All the best. Happy baking, people. Bye-bye. Mr. B? Mr. B? Mr. B? Come.